Look, gaming is just okay? The amount of money you have to spend to buy a new console thanks to tariffs, the amount of money you have to spend to buy a new gaming PC thanks to memory shortages, the fact that games are going from $60 to $70 to $80, it's crazy. You're either spending a small fortune right now, or you're playing a free-to-play game that's trying to sell you cosmetics and DLC and all that kind of stuff. Like, I gotta ask, are we ever gonna go back to the good old days?
Or which company?
Early access, beta.
Just really a culmination of just nerd culture.
Past LeBron on the way to the stadium.
Okay. Where's the LeBron of Smash Bros? We name dropping?
I stand with stop killing games for sure.
Support physical media. Support physical media.
Do you purchase games, movies, or digital downloads? Do you really own it? We're here at Supernova talking to gamers to see how they feel about the future of gaming. How do you feel about the current state of gaming when it comes to digital downloads and like hard copies kind of being phased out?
I think it's stupid.
I think it's really fucking lame. Yeah, I think that hard copy should stay.
I mean, in certain areas, I think that it's a really bad thing, like especially for places that have to rely on secondhand market games, where it's just not as feasible to get like a stable internet connection.
I prefer digital downloads.
I also prefer digital downloads.
Small digital, definitely. Yeah, nowadays I'm used to the digital.
Physical is extremely important for the preservation of what we've built as a culture.
I kind of like having a physical copy. I just feel like, I don't know, I just have something to hold on to. Whereas like when it's a digital copy, it doesn't feel like I really have it.
Hard copies, 100%. I love buying plastic. I love looking at a whole shelf full of games. That is what I'm about.
I also prefer hard copies, but most of my library is digital. I do still enjoy Steam.
Sony fired the first shot publicly. Physical disc production ending in January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. No!
I'm of the opinion that having physical media is important. I think we're in a flux where a lot of people have there's been this growing animosity towards like bigger devs, AAA and stuff like that. I think we're going to see stuff slowly shift, though, with how stubborn things are. It's not going to shift drastically.
I think it really depends on what console developers are willing to do for us, the players, right? Like, we're seeing, of course, like with Sony, they're saying the PS6 is going to be digital only, right? Like, at that point, is it really that different from just like a region-locked type of PC situations?
I think they're trying to make them obsolete, and I don't think it's the community that wants them obsolete. But take this, convention, for example. There are games here that are 30 years old that if that was digital and it could run on a computer today, that would just be gone. It wouldn't exist anymore. But you could come here and, experience a game for the first time, find something that you used to love, or even like bring a chip that you have that's broken and get the battery in it replaced. And that's something, then you can share it with somebody and someone else can play it. I mean, you got a game yesterday that you played a long time ago and I've never played it. And now I get to because somebody here is selling it.
How did Supernova get started?
Supernova got started 11 years ago. We wanted to create a tournament that had more than just the tournament.
Justin had a big dream, and a couple of friends from college, and we just, sometimes I don't even know, like looking back at it,
I don't know if I would have ever dreamed we'd be where we are now a decade ago.
First, from a Baltimore perspective, like we really hope we're here. I mean, things have been going great so far. We love it here. I mean, you can, compared to the old venue as well, I mean, we really have space to stretch out here. It is really great. A lot of people say this is the one time a year they come and say they, whatever, they're playing online and they get to see people like this is their reunion, for a lot of their friends that they game with all year. I mean, that's, I guess in a way, that's part of the vision of the whole event.
So ultimately, it's still providing that same avenue for the community, but I think now we think a little bit bigger with it. Now we think, how can that stretch beyond even the walls of a convention center.
Actually, I have to shout out, we are volunteer run, largely. So the larger gaming community, we actually have several universities who have esports programs. And you see up front, back running the tournaments too, very, very integrated into our event. And it couldn't happen without them.
The local community, the city, and even things bigger than just Smash, gaming as a whole, and even beyond gaming, indie dev, or finding careers in the esports space or production, working with universities. Thankfully, first year was a hit, and then just kind of grew from there. And here we are.
So I think that gaming is in a really good spot right now, especially particularly in the indie scene. What we're seeing is a lot of the really big companies moving into more big mass appeal games. I think it'll be better when more people are more willing to go out and search for their entertainment, as opposed to just being excited by an algorithm.
Yeah, I feel like I naturally gravitate more towards indie games anyway, and I think there's definitely a certain line that as AAA games can cross where I'm just not willing to pay for them anymore. Even nowadays, for some prices with some games, I have to consider the cost of them. But I feel like indie developers usually try and keep price in mind. Indie developers tend to be more consumer focused, and I appreciate that.
If they keep raising prices and shit, and taking away having the option of collecting games, the physical thing, it'll kill some passion for some people.
I think right now, PC gaming is really affordable because a lot of Steam games, a lot of them are under $20. And they're really good. Silksong is $20. I bought Hades for $5.
Damn.
Those are really good games, and I'm getting them for quarter of the price of a Switch game.
For solo devs like me, for indie developers, I think we're really looking towards a future where it's going to be, if you check out my Patreon, you give me this much, you get access for, a couple new skins or appearances or levels or, alternate movesets, that kind of stuff a month. Where you're building a content library for your different games and you're really making people feel like they own a part of the game, as opposed to, hey, buy it once, let me compete with everyone else.
I do have to say the PC game has now hit the point where there's a huge barrier for the next generation with the AI transitions, RAM chips prices, everything from there. So even trying to get a computer and get into the PC gaming world, huge barriers just in the last 6 months or the last year. Consoles have risen significantly. Even old, 4 or 5 year old consoles now are increasing by $100 to $300.
How do we feel about esports in comparison to traditional sports? Do we feel like esports is going to be on the same par in the future when it comes to the world of gaming, or what are your thoughts on that?
I personally believe we're starting to see being it on the equal level of actual sports, of esports and actual sports being on the same level. We're already seeing schools doing sponsorships. We're already seeing teams. We're already seeing big corporations try to incorporate esports into part of their programs to generate any hype. So I believe we are starting to get there, and companies are starting to see it.
So as someone that literally does have Smash as their career, and it has been my career for a long time, when you make gaming your career, so first of all, you want to make sure you have another backup plan, or you work have something on the side of it, because trying to put all of your eggs in one basket for a game is really dangerous. I didn't even do that myself. I was I was in school, I was in college, and I got my first esports contract while I was in college. So I kept it. I like Smash a lot, but I was smart enough to be okay, I can't just only play Smash. I need to be here just in case things don't get through.
Just recently, the Dominican Republic just won Street Fighter 6. They celebrated, and Colombia won a League of Legends tournament. So that gives a good foresight of what's coming in the future. If esports keeps growing the way it's growing.
It will be a very interesting and yet creative, because we're going to have a lot of video games, so we're going to have a lot of choices out there.
The industry is now generating somewhere between $200 and $350 billion a year in annual revenue, making it by far the largest entertainment sector in the world, regardless of whatever your exact definitions may be. More people are playing video games than ever before. They are playing them for longer, and the not-so-secret reality is that video game companies have gotten a lot better at getting money out of them while they are.
Well, you mentioned something about revenue generating. Like, do you have any opinions when it comes to being a gamer and transitioning that to like the business world with like microtransactions and things like that?
I think microtransactions are very effective and really annoying.
Microtransactions is always an interesting aspect, especially if it's not pay to win. I hate pay to win game styles, but if it's something to where you're buying cosmetics and you're really just, hey, I got this really cool cloak and it's really something interesting that speaks to me as a human or individual for my self identity, I think that's fine because it's not going to be game killing attributes to the game. But I do think that there are certain games that, you know, if you spend $60 on it and you play for an hour, it's not going to be a good value. And I think that's where people are pulling back.
Now, around the other business models you mentioned plushies, stickers, like getting it out. Is that something that you see the future of gaming evolving to not only do you have a story-based game with a strong, solid character, like that's awesome having your own IP, but do you see it having to branch into other aspects of e-commerce in order to generate revenue just for the whole IP as in general?
I absolutely think that any indie dev would experience the fact that, like, if you don't have a publisher backing you, we can all benefit from the support. And so I think merch is a huge avenue for indies to tap into if they're not tapping into it yet. For me, I think like staying true to ourselves as artists in the face of like, you know, being offered a publishing deal or a big buyout comes from like I mentioned that I started this studio because I wanted to be able to get to tell my story. And the second I sell it off, that's not mine anymore. It's not true. And I think we've all seen series that we've loved disappear completely, like maybe they're not even available anymore at all, or just get worse over time because it was given, you know, to a bigger studio that had more money, but we're interested in giving less money to the team actually than like what the team is putting in initially. And honestly, like in our run as a studio, we've gotten a couple publishing deals that were putting in like less money toward our game, the offer, than like we've already invested in it. And if we're like, well, if we've already put that much in, but you're not really bringing in a new audience or anything like that, like why would I take this up on it?
There's a solution that's like unique for everyone. You know, for us, it would be, we care a lot about how the IP is treated, how our characters and our story are written. So we wouldn't sell off any of that intellectual property at all. But that might not be true for everyone, right? But it is important to keep in mind too that like, you know, once those like rights are lost, that there's not much you could do.
Yeah. Baltimore, and I guess Maryland as a whole, has this really cool thing called the MVVLA. It's the Maryland Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts. And like there's an application fee. It's like $30, but all the work is pro bono. And so like, yeah, I don't have the money to like go and drop like $5,000 on a lawyer who specializes in contracts, but I could meet somebody who might have that in their wheelhouse, probably does because their lawyers are fantastic. And then they would be able to help a small team like us. Yeah. And like, that's just invaluable. Yeah. And then you'd know for real what is in the contract because they write it to be confusing on purpose.
The evolution of gaming is really coming back down to the social atmosphere. Okay. So, I mean, you see Super Smash being a really fun game where you're like, you know, 2-4 players just really duking it out. And here, a culmination of events, you're doing it with friends physically. So a lot of events are really coming back. Even the last year where with how everything with the economy is kind of going like a little bit sideways here and well, events are really, have still increased.
Fill in the blanks here. The gaming industry could use more of blank and less of blank.
More pixel art, less DLC.
Love and attention. It needs more love and attention, but it needs less toxicity.
Definitely less toxicity, but more IRL events.
I think games can be less open world, big thing. I kind of like having a smaller, bite-sized thing, a little experience here and there. I love indie games, love games I could play with friends.
I think, honestly, video games could use more of like the smaller scale sort of projects. Not every game needs to necessarily be a AAA blockbuster, 9-figure budget.
I think could use a little less of the unfinished early access.
Video games could use more single-player experiences and less live service games. Sony, please, less live service games.
Now, when it comes to the future of gaming, What do you think that looks like for the next generation of kids that are just getting into it? Like, what's the future of gaming gonna look like in your eyes?
I think the old games are still gonna be good. Like the big popular games like Minecraft and Roblox, they'll still be good. I know since GTA comes out, I think in a month, it'll be also good too. So I think they'll also probably have GTA 6, like how everybody had GTA 5.
I feel like kids today are just all about Fortnite and live service games. So it's just going to be a different kind of nostalgia than we have, because we remember getting our Pokemon cartridges and trading with link tables, and that's not really what kids today. I feel like
I really miss demos. I'm thinking about the demo CDs we got with the PlayStations or whatever. I completely forgot about those.
Kids of today, unfortunately, are not going to have the same fun experiences we once had. Right now, video game companies are being monopolized. They're being all bought out. Just a single parent company, and they all just want the money. And so kids are not getting the same experience as we did when it was just about making the games we loved.
Yeah, I feel like it could easily go to a very distant gaming community. Like, connecting online is amazing. Some of my closest friends are people I met online, eventually met in person. I love being able to do that. I do think there's going to be a lot more distance between people. It is going to be a lot of, I just talked to these people online.
Yeah, so I think events like this are super important to maintain that community aspect. I do feel that sort of home gaming has definitely evolved outside of sort of our youth and, like you had said, like going over a friend's house and playing it. When you're in a place like this, like a Supernova, any sort of MagFest, cons like that, when you have the table, you get people sit down, you have maybe like a teenager sits down to play and their parent sits down with them to sort of see what's going on. I think that connection is like really important. And I love that events like Supernova are able to offer that back to us because, like I said, I think it is something that's sort of going away at the home gaming scene.